From the dynamic ideas of inventor and entrepreneur Elon Musk to the quiet grace of survivors like Alison, Botha and W. Mitchell. Let's take a look at the best of Carte Blanche over the past 25 years. I must say that some of the visuals are not for sensitive viewers.
In 25 years on air, we've met some compelling people and had some memorable moments. Sometimes a place or a person has resonated simply for taking us somewhere we've never been before. And then there are those who've inspired, like W. Mitchell.
I mean, it fascinates you when you meet W. Mitchell because his face is scarred. He's got these stumps for hands, confined to a wheelchair, and yet he's just full of such optimism.
When I look in the mirror, sometimes I say that, boy, that's a little unusual. And sometimes I say, well, you're looking pretty good today.
In 1971, 28-year-old W. Mitchell was the epitome of a tough young guy from San Francisco. His nickname, Wild Bill, said it all.
And then he has this motorbike accident, not a very serious one, except the petrol spills out of the tank, catches alight, and W. Mitchell is burnt to a crisp.
And all the petrol poured all over me, and the heat of the engine ignited it, and I literally became a bonfire.
What is amazing is how Mitchell rebuilds his life. He ends up in a little place called Crested Butte in Colorado. Big businessman, actually mayor of this small town, even gets an aircraft pilot's license using his stumps to control the plane. But one day, ice on the wings, he crashes and survives, but is left a paraplegic.
But Mitchell, whose core philosophy, that most limitations are self-imposed, once again managed to get his life back on track. And while he might have seen his glasses half full, there were plenty who didn't.
I had been passing a school playground one day, and the little kiddies came running to the fence, screaming, "Monster, monster!" All I wanted to do was go inside the schoolyard. And I wanted to talk to the kids, not yell at them, not punish them. What I wanted to tell them was that, yes, I'm different, I look different, the package is different than they might have expected. But inside is a wonderful gift. And if we just look at the package and say, oh, that's strange, that person talks funny, or walks funny, or rolls around in a wheelchair funny, or we're going to miss a lot of gifts, a lot of opportunities in life.
How can he feel that he hasn't been sort of dealt a lousy pack of cards? He's just one of the most inspiring people that I've ever met. And he's got this story where he says it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. And just think what he's done.
And how Alison Botha even survived after a night of what you can only call hell in December 1994 was a miracle.
She was abducted, raped, brutally attacked and left for dead. The savage attack shocked South Africa, but it was Alison's courage that really inspired people around the world.
They tried to take physically from me. They raped me. They tried to kill me. But no matter what they had done to me, they never had power over my mind.
I remember meeting her and that terrible scar. And it was as thick as my pinky. And she didn't cover it up. And there was just such a calmness. There's a kind of a call. It's as if she's very still inside.
Well, that probably saved her life.
Yeah, because she could keep her head together, even though they were cutting her body apart.
She knew she needed to get to the main road.
I pushed myself up onto my knees, and that's the first time I discovered that my intestines, or that my stomach had been stabbed, because they were actually hanging out, my intestines. I actually had to hold my head up. The one muscle on this side was actually cut through, and so the head flopped right back. And so I actually had to hold it up so that I could see.
Hold it up with your hand?
So when I was holding my intestines in with one and my head up with the other.
She lay down in the road, in the middle of the road, 90 degrees to the white line. So the chances that someone might actually just drive over her must have been huge, but she just knew that she had to stop a car. She had to be seen.
And she was seen by a 20-year-old student, Tian Elad, who was driving back with friends from a party.
I just said to my friends as well, we need to keep it calm and talk to her, and we'll get her to a hospital as soon as possible.
He was the one everyone seemed to take instruction from, and he did take control and just told everyone what to do. And that's the kind of person I needed, and that is the miracle that arrived on the road on that night.
Alison's journey is one we have followed, from the worst of times to, against all odds, the birth of her 2 children. Her courage has inspired South Africans for the past 20 years.
If I was given the choice, if you could get a choice like that, to go back in time, and I could make that night unhappen, I don't know that I would, because I have to question what my life would be now if I had just continued. And what this has made me realize is the moment is now.
A continent away in a little rural village in Brazil, every week thousands of people arrive for what they call miraculous healings. We visited this Brazilian healer, João de Deus, and witnessed some memorable but disturbing moments.
He had like those tongs they use in the hospital, put it right up the guy's nose, and he just stood there kind of winding it up, looking vaguely into the middle distance. It was so surreal.
We spent a week at his center in Abajania with a group whose last hope was an alternative healing. In reporting on the story, we made a conscious decision to suspend judgment.
It was a different time. If we were to go today, we would probably go and see if we can unmask him as a charlatan. We didn't go like that. We went to observe and to come and tell the story. They asked that everyone who comes there must wear white. So we were all in white. So to some extent, we almost joined in. Fortunately, he didn't want to do an operation on any one of us.
And some of those operations were literally eye-opening.
He cut on the inside, on the iris of someone's eye, with a vegetable knife. And the guy was under no sedation of no kind.
And you were close up, it wasn't tricky.
No. I was this far away. And the poor cameraman nearly keeled over. I do not have a clue what was happening there. He did not charge money. He sold little wooden crucifixes for $1 each. He sold the herbs that he prescribed for $2 or $3 each. He was not making money out of those people. Second thing was that there were lines, hundreds of meters long, of locals. It wasn't a thing, a tourist attraction. It was such a peaceful place. We did follow-up after follow-up, and I don't think we ever showed anyone who had a miraculous cure. And yet it had this pull. People just wanted to go.
And we wanted to step aboard the aircraft carrier USS George Washington.
When you land on the George Washington, it just takes your breath away.
The flight deck alone, in American terms, measures 4.5 acres. That's the size of about 4 football fields. And as we stepped on board, the constant radar signals that would detect the first signs of enemy action were so intense it affected the sensitive electronics of our camera and tape.
It was 1998, and with the USA and Iraq on the brink of war, the George Washington was stationed in the Persian Gulf, ready for action.
The main strike power of the George Washington is Carrier Air Wing 1, which boasts more than 70 aircraft on board. Like the F-14 Tomcat to engage enemy aircraft, and the F-18 Hornets to fire missiles and laser-guided bombs, and a host of other aircraft with more sophisticated tasks.
Yeah, sometimes on Carte Blanche, you've just got to lie around a hotel pool. That's true. Yeah, we wanted to get on board the George Washington aircraft carrier, and we took a chance. Mnet took a chance, sent us there to Bahrain, where crews from around the world were waiting for that one opportunity. And our producer, Diana Lucas, was on the phone, banging on doors for nearly a week, trying to get us aboard that aircraft carrier.
And our money was running out.
But eventually, the call came through. We were on.
We were given 24 hours to film how the American Navy not only prepared for war, but lived in this mini city.
Now, this was before 9/11, and we were given access that was just unbelievable.
After an hour or so, we became used to seeing laser-guided missiles or sidewinders casually carted around in supermarket-type trolleys.
I was concerned that you've got this massive ship, and you've got enemy planes. This was the Gulf War was brewing, and I said, but this is such a target. How do you make sure that you just don't get bombed? One aircraft can take you out. They said, oh, come with us. And they took us into this, I guess you'd call it like a war room.
We like to consider ourselves actually less of a target than an Air Force base would be, because you go with an Air Force base, you have a fixed latitude and longitude, and you're a fixed target. We're constantly moving.
But it was just amazing. There were these screens, obviously radar and everything else on these screens, and they were just watching these screens, just watching for something coming into the airspace that was suspicious, and of course they'd scramble their jet fighters right away. It was an incredible experience being aboard that aircraft carrier. What has this guy achieved? I mean, in world terms, they're richer people, but in terms of being an inventor, as anybody who can actually hold a candle to Elon Musk.
When we interviewed Elon in Los Angeles, he had already co-founded PayPal, one of the world's leading electronic payment systems, and developed the first fully electric racing car. Now, he was taking on the big guys in the commercial rocket industry with his company, SpaceX.
Each time a satellite is launched, it can cost anything between $30 and $80 million for the trip. But then along comes a young guy, 34 to be exact, who says that the huge corporations that have such a tight grip on the launcher business are ripping off their customers. He says he can get payloads into space at a fraction of the cost. He also happens to be South African, educated at Pretoria Boys High.
Look, I love technology, and I love the way that he was taking on the bureaucracy of the big sort of rocket and engine manufacturers, with his little gang of techies. His factory's open, to the street. So I say to him, but, Elon, how can you just have these, rockets lying around, these engines? He said, you know what, if I gave these people the blueprints with all their bureaucracy, they wouldn't catch up in 10 years.
Although I am new to the business, my team is not. And I would say that person for person, there's never been a better rocket company in existence in history. I don't think there's ever been a group this talented in one place, in one company, developing a rocket ever.
In March 2007, 18 months after we met Elon, his company succeeded in launching his rockets into space. Today, SpaceX has a contract to send supplies to the International Space Station.
What he's achieved, nobody else in the commercial sector who've had years and years of experience can actually match him. They are America's only link with the International Space Station right now. South African boy building these rockets, but not stopping there. Now he's got this thing called the Hyperloop, this vacuum system of getting people from LA to San Francisco in 30 minutes or less, and that's about 550 Ks. Elon Musk knows no bounds whatsoever, and believe you me, Mars isn't out of the question.
And now you have the right to read it all.
The Carte Blanche book is already a bestseller, with Jonathan Ball Publishers out of the first print run in only 4 days. If you haven't bought your copy yet, it's available at bookstores countrywide and online at kalahari.com.